Partners, my researcher and writer Dennis Daly and I have looked at people who were real American patriots, but who fought with a pen or a typewriter and not a gun. Among them was the much-loved Indiana journalist Ernie Pyle, and he reported from the front lines during World War II. He talked to the GIs and told their story. He wrote a gut-wrenching book called This Is Your War. We learned a lot about the great New York City lawyer who didn't know he was a historian. His name was George Templeton Strong. Every night during the Civil War and for many years afterwards, he sat down and wrote a very long and complex diary. But in his writings, never meant to be published, that gave us a very sharp and true insight into that war. On the Confederate side, we learned about Mary Chestnut. She was a Southern belle who also kept a diary. Modern-day historians have learned a lot about what was going on in the losing side of reading of the diary of Mary Chestnut. So partners, in the spirit of all of that, I want to salute this week's honoree. His name was Ralph G. Newman. Ralph G. Newman. During his lifetime, he did so many things that his friends said that he never did sleep. He lived in Chicago and was known as the city's best after-dinner speaker. He also was a professional baseball player for a minor league team. He was a famous civic leader in Chicago, always fighting for the underdog, and through all of this, he also owned a bookstore. It was at the bottom of a bookstore that Ralph Newman made his mark as an American patriot. So, partners, you see, Newman became obsessed with Abraham Lincoln. He began collecting everything that Lincoln ever wrote. Then he sat down and displayed every book ever written, or on Lincoln, that is. He then started visiting all the great living historians to come to Chicago to talk about Lincoln. Eventually his meetings with historians would become a regular event. He called those meetings, often over drinks and dinner, the Civil War Roundtable. The Civil War Roundtable. Yeah, over the years, more and more historians would go to Chicago and be a part of those roundtable meetings. Although Newman died in 1998, today's historians remember him with great fondness. He gave people the chance to fully study the great president. He instilled a love of history into his friends and made it possible for historians to know each other and to exchange stories. Kind of weird, isn't it? No, late. So much of what he knew about old Abe Lincoln came from the Civil War roundtables set up in Chicago by Ralph Newman. Much of the legacy of Lincoln has been preserved because of the tireless efforts of this one single man, a bookstore owner, a civic leader, and a baseball player. Yes, I said a baseball player. Let's say his name again. Ralph G. Newman, a great American patriot. Let's always remember his name, Ralph G. Newman. Okay, partners, you know the drill. Click that big old red X up there, and you'll be immediately returned back to the report page. I love you guys. Go get 'em, Tigers!